You are watching KUTV Primetime News with Omondi Otieno.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us on KUTV Primetime News. You can tell us what you think about the bulletin on our social media platforms. Just comment on Facebook KUTV Kenya and on Twitter KUTV_Kenya. Religion has been one of the stumbling blocks of vaccination against COVID-19. In line with our special feature on religion and vaccines, Daphne Rina held an in-depth discussion to unmask other myths and misconceptions deterring the uptake of vaccine. Listen in.
Kenya has so far fully vaccinated around 3.12 million people out of the possible 53.77 million people in the country, a statistic that is worrying with the new Omicron variant at bay recently reported in Uganda. And the low turnout of vaccine rollout and vaccination to the Kenyans has been attributed to myths and misconception and perhaps religious beliefs that are keeping people away from vaccination centers. Helping me to decipher the myths and misconceptions here tonight is Dr. Singok. Welcome.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, I'd like you to introduce yourself to our viewers and tell them who you are and what you do.
Okay, my name is Dr. William Songok. I teach in the School of Medicine in the Department of Medical Microbiology and Immunology. And I teach second year medical students, mostly virology as well as immunology. And I also help in the pharmacy program within the institution as well.
Well, you've mentioned that you teach virology. Does that involve studying the evolution of viruses and the sorts?
Yeah, we don't get so much into the evolution of viruses, but with the advent of COVID, we've kind of delved into, where the virus came from, how did we get to where we are, and how does the future of COVID look like. So that has been a hot topic among the students, and I think it's interesting because it's happening in real time. Like, we can actually, the students can actually go out there and they can see these people who are, facing these problems in the real world.
Let's get straight into the topic that we're discussing tonight about the myths and misconceptions, perhaps religious beliefs that are deterring or that are resulting into the low turnout of vaccine rollout or people going for the COVID-19 vaccine. Some people feel that the vaccine was rather invented in a hasty manner, which they don't really believe in the efficacy of that vaccine. Could you perhaps give us a brief history of the inventory of the vaccine?
All right, that's a very good question. And if you look at the denialism that comes with vaccinations and treatment as a whole, it's not something new that is happening now. Even in the 1700s, when Edward Jenner began the vaccination of smallpox, some religious people were against it. They said, why do you interfere with something that God has put out there for, to be present at that particular time? So denialism is not something new that is coming out. It's something that's been there. And people will always have some skepticism about a new thing that comes out there in the public. So, but to sympathize with the individuals that are really denying the efficacy and the presence of the vaccine by saying that the vaccine was rolled out very fast compared to other vaccines that have been out there. Because when you look at a disease like HIV has been here with us for, over 30 years. And up to now, we don't have a vaccine yet. And then COVID came, and then within a year, we had a vaccine, and people are like, I'm not gonna take it, But I think the way the vaccine was introduced probably created some confusion among people, and that has really affected the perception of how people get the information. Because, in as much as it came with good information, but there was a lot of negativity that was sandwiched in between.
Yes, and now that aspect of vaccinating people and the government's directive of people undergoing mandatory vaccination that was issued on the 12th of November, it really spooked a lot of dilemmas and in religious people who are relating it now to the mark of the beast. Perhaps to understand if it is possible to have microchips rigged in vaccines, because that's how they think they are getting marked. Yeah. Through the vaccine.
Yeah, so to answer that question, I mean, let me go back a little bit and talk about how these vaccines were invented and why people are associating the invention of these vaccines with the chips inside the body and what have you. So initially, when you look at history, how vaccines were developed, like vaccines have been here with us for over 100 years. As I mentioned, Edward Jenner started in the 1700s, and then we had the rabies vaccine, and then we have the polio vaccines, and then we have the rollout of more vaccines that came about. And vaccines have really helped in advancing the human life, to be honest. So how these vaccines were normally developed in the past is that they take a virus, a potent virus, they take it through a process called attenuation, where they make it weak and weak and weak. And then they take that weakened version of the virus, and they inject it into the people, and then people develop something called antibodies, which is a defense mechanism to help fight the infection. But now with the advancement of technology, we have something called mRNA technology and DNA technology, where they are now taking a portion of the virus and putting it inside your body so that you can generate antibodies. In other words, they are turning our bodies into antibody making machinery. So actually, you're getting part, in fact, the AstraZeneca vaccine, they developed using the DNA technology, where they took a little bit of the virus genome, put it inside a chimpanzee virus, and then injected it into the people. So if you get AstraZeneca, you got a chimpanzee version of the virus. But it doesn't mean that you are genetically modified human being. The mRNA technology was used for the Pfizer, Moderna, and what happens is that now you become you generate antibodies against viruses inside your body. So it's not like you've been microchipped and then you will never get rid of it. It's not it doesn't integrate, it doesn't become part of your system. It's just that it's an efficient way of doing things with the advancement in technology. And this technology is not new. It's something that's been cooking in the factory, and it just happened to be at the opportune moment when COVID struck. The vaccine was released. This technology was rather employed to generate a vaccine. Yeah.
All right, that's very clear. Thank you very much for that response. Moving on, people claim now that you've really explained on how these vaccines are made. Some people say you will get the disease, the coronavirus disease, from the vaccines, but really it's that reaction in the body. Could you further explain some other side effects somebody is likely to experience after getting the injection? Because I think the government is not really doing enough in sensitizing people on the side effects, because you hear someone who went for a vaccination telling you, oh, I'm feeling this and that, and people are really not well educated about the side effects of the vaccine.
Yeah, so I think, as I mentioned in the beginning, the problem is not with the vaccine, it is how the information was given to the public. When COVID came, everybody was scared. And then now, after a little while, here is the vaccine. And they're telling people, take it. If you don't, you get punished for doing A, B, C, D. And just to step back, answering that question is that actually it's been effective, to be honest, in that people have now gone to get the vaccines. Because they know if they go to Duma Center, if they go to police station, or they go to any government facility, they will not get the services. Like in Kitui County, I looked at yesterday, people had to go and get a shot. People are lining up now to get a shot. So psychology has shown that there's something called operant conditioning. When you reward somebody or you punish them, they tend to respond in one way or the other. So I think the government have been slightly effective in terms of associating punishment with reward when it comes to the vaccine. Going back to the side effects of the vaccines, I mean, what people can get after they get a shot is that you can get tenderness in a place where you got the vaccine, where you got the shot rather, and then some people have reported fever that can last sometimes probably for an extended amount of time. Some have reported just rashes or headaches, which is normally associated with the vaccine, because you can imagine they are giving you a small piece of the virus, so one way or the other is going to react. In fact, if you don't have any fever, any pain, rise in body temperature, then the vaccine probably is working. But when you have that fever, that chills, you should be thankful that now I got the vaccine working, it's doing what it's supposed to do. But I think a prolonged fever is where the problems can come in. And as you mentioned, there's a lot that has been associated with it. Like some people have said that, if you get the vaccine, you will not have children, you will not, there's a lot of myths that are associated with that. And the reason for that is that there's a gene called syncytia inside our body that's important for implantation, that's helping, fetus and the mother connect together, and it's called syncytia. And coronavirus has been shown to activate a gene similar to that, but it's not exactly the same. So all these myths have been debunked by science, so I think we need to stick with what's available there that has been peer-reviewed.
Thank you very much for that. Now, some people out there are probably not going for the vaccine because of the many variants that are coming up of the COVID-19 virus, and they're like, if I'm going for this vaccine and yet I will need another vaccine, maybe if they are coming up with another vaccine to cater for the Omicron variant, there is no need. So are we expecting to see more variants of the COVID-19 virus, and what should be done in the event of that?
Yeah, sure. I'm glad you asked that, because what happened is that viruses come in two forms. Okay, let me just step back a little bit. We have the RNA viruses and DNA virus. This is an RNA virus. RNA viruses, they tend to make a lot and lots of mutations. Okay, so they make errors. And the reason why they make errors is because they're trying to evade the host immune response. So what happened in this case is that coronavirus has changed over time, okay? So, we had the initial variant that came from China. And then after that, we had the Delta, we had the Alpha, we had the Omega, we have the Mu, we have the Delta Super. I mean, there's been quite a number. Now we have the Omicron variant. And what is unique about this Omicron variant is that it has over 30 mutations on the receptor side. So normally viruses, when they come in, they have to bind somewhere. And what they are using to bind is those spike proteins. And the spike proteins, those are the ones that, helping the virus to enter. So they've changed. It has mutated within that region. So what do we know about Omicron variant is that we don't know much about it. Okay, it just came out recently. So whatever we're getting, information that we're getting is very scant, and it's come from a very small population, very small study. So what is known about this variant, going back to vaccination, is AstraZeneca, is Pfizer vaccine going to be effective against these? And what you see is that there was a study that came out of South Africa 2 days ago where they tested the efficacy of this vaccine against the different antibodies. And what they saw was that the vaccines are not that effective in preventing against this new variant. So it is worrying. It is very worrying. And what is the biggest worry is a breakthrough. Okay, if we get enough people infected with the new variant and the vaccines are not effective, then we may go into another surge.
Another catastrophe right there. Very, very worrying news right there.
Absolutely.
And on that note about the Omicron variant,
Sure.
If the yellow fever and the Spanish flu went away, with this variant that now, as you said, it's really worrying now that the vaccines that we have at hand are not working. Are we expecting this COVID-19 virus to go away after some time? And what is it that we're not doing that was done to, erase the Spanish flu that is not really working right now?
Yeah, so when you look at historically, like the Spanish flu, we had other like yellow fever when it came, and bubonic plague. All these diseases, they came, and after a while, they kind of subsided. And when you look at the number of people who died from this infection or these diseases, it was a lot. Okay, like the bubonic plague killed a lot of people, over 300 million people. So it was quite a large number of people. So I don't think we've hit that threshold where we say, the virus is going just to subside on its own. So it may be here to linger for a while. And one reason is because of how the virus is transmitted. And then globalization, people are traveling. During the time of Spanish flu, probably, you'll get one person traveling from one area to the other. But now with, how many planes are landing in Kenya and people coming from South Africa and all this region. So the virus is able to spread very fast within a very short time. So, that's why they announced a lockdown kind of to contain the virus within that area. But, lockdowns can only go so far. The economy sometimes, you have to weigh, which one goes, which one. So I think that striking that balance has been a problem. And COVID, how long are we going to have it? I wish we had an answer, but you can see that every time we try to come up with a solution, the virus kind of, changes. And the only way we'll get to that point where we can say we are safe is if we have enough people vaccinated. Okay, if we can get herd immunity, if we can get enough people in Kenya vaccinated, then we can hit that point where we can say we are safe. But before then, we may go into several cycles.
Well, I think our viewers got it right there. You really need to go for this vaccine to protect you, to keep you and your neighbors and the whole nation, but also the whole world safe. On that note, someone is required to go for another shot of the vaccine.
Yeah.
So if 2 shots of the vaccine are enough, are 4 shots of the vaccine better, because we want to obtain herd immunity? Will that be an overdose? And what will happen in the event if one gets more than 2 shots of the vaccines?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So what happened is that when we get these shots, they go into our body, they generate antibodies. But over time, they wear out, like the levels kind of drop. So that's why you need that booster shot. Like, studies have shown that when we go for a fast shot, we get like 70% protection against the first variant, that was the Delta. When we go for the second shot, we kind of take it up to 80. But after a while, we have this decline of the antibody production in our bodies. Like, they kind of wear out, their proteins, they get degraded over time. And now, in fact, there was a public message that came out of Pfizer from the CEO, after this new Omicron variant, that, they advised people to go for the 3rd shot. So now, right now in the United States and other countries, they are rolling out the 3rd shot. They're calling them now the booster shot. So the 1st shot is not enough. The 2nd shot is not even enough. So now we're going for the 3rd shot, and there's a possibility that if the virus continue to linger, we may even need to go for the 4th shot. So for those people who are saying I'm not going for the shot, we may be in it for a long, if you get even 4 shots, it's not going to have any side effects on you at all.
Now with the vaccines not really working against the new Omicron variant, people are starting to think or question which vaccine is actually better than the other.
Sure.
So is there really a vaccine that can actually work against all these variations so that we won't have any other mutations?
Yeah, I think what we need to be careful when we ask that question is what the vaccine is doing. So there are 2 things it's going to help with. First of all, it can protect us from getting infected. The second layer that it protects us against is if we get infected, we don't have severe disease presentation that would require us to get things like oxygenation and what have you. So in as much as these vaccines may not work against protecting us from getting infected, we may get infected, yes, but it has been shown to protect against hospitalization and severe disease. So that's the beauty of it. In as much as you may get sick, you may get infected by the new Omicron variant, but you're not going to present with severe disease like somebody who did not get vaccinated. So going back to answer on the efficacy, which one is better? Is Sputnik better? Is Johnson & Johnson's better? Is Pfizer better? All those vaccines are there, and sometimes connotating them, like giving a percentage to each of them. Scientists are very careful in doing that. All these vaccines were tested when they came out of the labs, and they were shown to have a particular efficacy that was good enough to come to the public, some having higher than others. But I think, it is better to get a vaccine regardless of its efficacy than to just say, hey, I need that Johnson & Johnson, or I need ABCD. So Pfizer has been shown to be better, but the problem with it is with transportation and maintenance. You need a very cold temperatures to maintain it, and that can be a problem when it comes to transportation. Yeah.
On that note, the fears, the myths that are driving people away from going for the vaccine. Some people fear the injections. Yeah. So are there other ways that we can perhaps have the vaccine in other modes, perhaps tablets? And if that is possible, how long will it take? Okay, so one thing it should be understood about this vaccine is that they come, they are offered in different routes. And for instance, polio vaccine is given as a droplet. Other like HIV, some of the HIV drugs are given as a tablet, but this one is given intramuscularly. And the reason for this is because you want that medication to go into the blood, into the system slowly by slowly. So if people are afraid of the vaccines, there's no other way to get it in. You just have to be the shot, and it's just once in a while. And I think people have been refusing. One element I like to mention is that people have been refusing to go for vaccination for several reasons. One thing is that people associate hospital with sickness. For somebody to get out of their house and just go to the hospital to just get a shot, there's not that much incentive. So I think if the government can take these vaccines to the market, to the places, like take it to the people
Go to Githurai Market, put a center there, and have people vaccinated there. Go to the marketplaces and bring it to the schools. Have people getting vaccinated, that where people can see. Because if you can remove that association of the hospitalization, I think it will help people. And some people just still don't believe COVID is real. So how do you vaccinate that person who hasn't gotten over that first layer of accepting? And then the other problem is that we are used to vaccinating children. So when you tell an adult you're going for vaccination, it kind of, I make my own decision and I decide what comes into my body. And people just, for a child, you can be like, yeah, children normally get polio at this month and so. But for adults, the resistance is there. Yeah.
Well, when it comes to a time when all these variants stop, emerging, is there a way that we can perhaps have each person tested against the side effects, perhaps if the blood and this probable side effects they are to experience if they get a particular shot of any other vaccine, so that they can really limit these side effects, and perhaps that way we'll get more people to be vaccinated?
Yeah. I think with time, there's a database actually even in the Ministry of Health where people can go and record, the side effects that they experience. But it's been generalized. Most of it, as I mentioned, is pain, fever, joint pain, muscle pain, things like that. It's nothing severe that will make somebody, miss work for a month, versus somebody actually getting sick and needing oxygenation and eventually probably succumbing to the infection. So I think with the side effects, I don't think that's the main reason why people don't go to the hospital. People just don't see the reason for. Okay, I think it's why do I need to go to the healthcare center to get vaccinated? And people are, I think people got sensitized a lot when the virus came, and then they got desensitized as quickly as it came. So it was a yin-yang, and it just came fast, and then it just left the same way it came. So I think what needs to happen is just to tell people the importance of vaccination, that if we don't vaccinate enough people, we may face another, catastrophic event where we may go into another wave requiring lockdowns, requiring, more stringent measures. And that will take the country back, and it will be detrimental to the individuals and the country as a whole and the world. Because countries are hurting. Like United States. People are starting to get sick with the new variant, and it's worrying with the new measures being put economically. South Africa now, they can allow people to go from there to US, and it's a major problem.
Well, I think on that note of side effects, the beginning of the COVID-19 vaccination period in AstraZeneca, there were recorded deaths or probable deaths recorded from the AstraZeneca vaccines and other vaccines, which governments did not really come out clear on, and people may be worried that if such an event happens with the vaccines, inventions of vaccines each day. So people like the scientists, this is not working. How sure are they that this vaccine will work? Perhaps addressing the last question for this interview, where do we see 2022 with the pandemic?
2022 with COVID, I think as a country we are. I mentioned people have kind of gotten they've heard a lot about it, and the sensitization, people are not that worried as they were when it came out the first time. But with the emergence of the new variants, I think we may face a slight bump, because you can look at the rates now. The positivity rate is low; it's below 5, and I think we're doing well as a country. But we don't know what the new Omicron variant is going to do. Because what has been shown with the new Omicron variant is it spreads fast, but whether it causes severe disease, it's not clear. So we don't know much about it. And we are entering into an election season. So right now, as a country, we are polarized, and people, politics kind of supersedes the worries of COVID, and all the measures are out. So I don't know, with the elections coming up and people meeting, I think, and then the holidays coming close, hopefully we don't get to the worst of the worst. But I think we should just, let's go out there and get vaccinated, because we may need a third shot. So if you don't have even the second or the first, then the third is far short from where we are.
Thank you very much for making time to be here and really decipher these myths and misconceptions surrounding the virus. Hopefully that will make more people to really want to go and get the vaccine. It is not making you infertile. It is not altering your health. Of course, you will experience side effects, but the vaccine is there for your safety and for everyone's safety. Thank you for watching.